one of the things that you'll notice here is that horse after horse after horse will come and make these things look easy, and then suddenly you realize, oh my goodness, this really is hard. It's just that we are watching the best horses and riders in the world do this. And they, of course, make it look easy until they don't, and then it looks impossible. Again, as at 5, there are black flag options. This one takes about a day and a half to do, because you gallop down the hill, and your alternative is to go wide, go across the swale there, turn back, dump this rail coming towards me. You see it has no slope behind it, it's smaller, and there's no drop. You jump that, you land, you probably take, what, 1, 2, or 3 strides. You jump this ditch, you bypass this, because that's not flagged to jump out. You bypass that here, you turn out and around, and you jump the cabin, and then you go back on course. The riders are going to be reluctant to give up that much time. Now, questions about this jump or about anything so far? Questions there, questions there. You're really going to have to yell them at me. Yes, sir, but really loud because this machine's throbbing away here. How deep is the ditch? The ditch itself is only about 2 or 3 feet deep. It's not terribly deep. Horses occasionally slip, put a foot in it, and they just step back out the other side. That's by design. That's a safety feature. More questions here? Oh dear. Yes. What element on the course do I think the riders will underestimate most? That's a good question, because I really think that they are not quite tuned in to the new course designer's thinking, and this course designer has terrific feel about what happens to the horse's balance and what happens to the horse's stride when they go across changing terrain. And I think that probably the jump that illustrates that the most, we are not going to walk all of the way out there today because it's at the far end of the park. But if you walk around the course tomorrow and you go to 14 and 15 AB, you will see now a very big downhill spread which stretches the horse out. They land on their forehand, and you must immediately turn back to an in and out of corners, what I refer to as red flag corners. Does that make sense to you? The flag is on the right, and this means you are going downhill after a spread and turning. Remember, in the water we said, which way does the shoulder drift when we turn? And now you don't just have the curve as you did at 5D, but you are downhill, and some horses are getting tired. And I think that just, you see, it just starts to add up. You know, just, this is a little difficult, but I can do it. This is a little difficult, but I can do it. This is a little difficult, but I can't handle the whole thing. You see what happens? And I don't think these riders really appreciate that yet. I have studied this guy's 3-star design, and people always come back saying, oh yeah, this is great, my horse is going to love it. And that night they're like, oh, how could I be so stupid? Because they just forget to take care of business. One more question before we move on to the next water jump. The question is, what about the effect of the footing on the actual competition? It's a sporting endeavor. The riders know that. That happens sometimes. They've been to other competitions where they're on top of the ground early, and then they get torrential rain, and the second half of the competition is affected, and that's just horses. Yeah, and they accept that. They know that the ground jury and the groundskeepers are doing their very best. You see them working away like the Dickens here to drain it. They will be out tomorrow with gravel and stone dust patching, repairing, replacing footing, trying to produce as, quote, level a playing surface as possible. But it's impossible. And our playing field is so big It's just in the nature of it. After 7ABC, the horses and riders galloped. They followed the rope along behind the open bleachers there, across the top of the hill. They galloped down there. They jumped this big log that you see behind me that has a Rolex banner on it. They will jump that at a high rate of speed for two reasons. One, they don't want to waste any time, and two, it's quite a big jump and you have to attack it. If you are half-hearted at a jump like that, your horse will sense that on you and they'll say, well, if you don't want to jump it, I'm not crazy, I don't want to jump it either. There must be something wrong with it, and they'll stop at it. So the horses and riders are attacking that. They're going 20 miles an hour when they jump that, and then they must land and turn left 90 degrees and approach this brush here. Again, we will talk about the direct route. And the direct route is from the container out and around and approaching this brush here. This brush is maximum height. The maximum height of the brush is 4'7". The maximum height of the solid part of a jump is 3'11", but when there is brush involved, they can only make the solid rail 3'3". That's a safety factor, so that if horses make a mistake here, they can slither through the brush. You do not pay the penalty for under-jumping slightly at a brush fence that you do when you, quote, under-jump a solid rail or a log such as the Tricaner at 8. Now, several things. The fast route is this brush at A, land, turn sharp right, uphill, and jump. If you looked when you came by, 9B is a very narrow opening. It is in effect a corner with a very narrow face on it, and the horses and riders are supposed to jump out through that opening, which they will. 9 out of 10 horses that try that will jump it successfully, and then they land and they go on up. But let's talk about this. Now, if I turn too soon, if I am worried about my turn, and I land there, and I flip around the peg, I jump at a left to right angle over this brush. Now, so far so good. You're like the cowboy that jumped off the Empire State Building, yes? So far so good. But what happens next? Well, that means that you land over there, and as you come up the rise, the horse never focuses on the
just a reminder, we only have 5 minutes left of shopping. The trade fair will be closing in 5 minutes.
You get 20 penalties for running past 9B.